I personally feel that food is the most important political issue, and it often gets overlooked.
The Food is Fuel campaign is about making sure we prevent waste of food in such an abundant country as ours, and it's also about making sure people have the fuel, the food that they need to be productive. We lose so much productivity because people don't have adequate nutrients.
Food fuels a resistance. People in the hood, a lot of these places are food deserts and there's a dearth of food there, you know what I mean? And without the food to fuel your brain power, you're not going to be able to resist.
You can't take for granted that everyone gets a proper meal or something to sustain them. And that affects your day, that affects your work day, that affects your life, your school, your grades, all those things. That's why I feel as though this campaign is important, and we need to pay more attention to it.
Tonight I'm doing a shaved cold lamb leg from a beautiful Virginia lamb from Border Springs with fava beans and whipped ricotta and very dark breadcrumbs with green garlic and a sumac vinaigrette and radishes and carrots. You know, I left fine dining years ago to open up a community restaurant in Athens, Georgia, and we've stuck with that ethos over the years. And we're really big believers in the idea of giving people a chance to come to your restaurant, no matter what. So if you're relatively high end, that's okay, but if you're in the $200, $300 range, you're only going to appeal to a very small slice of the population.
I'm a community guy, so I think this is where a lot of chefs get lost, that they don't believe that where they're cooking is a community. And I think a lot of chefs just need to start thinking about that as they're producing food. They can actually do some packaged meals. What I do in Harlem at Minson's and Cecil is every Wednesday we serve the tenants upstairs, which is the building provides to homeless that were on the streets, and then now they take them off the street. So we take the scraps in our kitchen and we make meals out of it. Food is always what every community needs. It doesn't matter how rich the community is.
Living in Athens, Georgia, and traveling around the States, I see the effects of hunger and poverty, and it's always been front and center as an issue that I think that we can solve.
There are no good reasons why there are some people who are hungry. Just no good reasons. This is about our own creation. It's about human creation of these crises, whether it is hunger or diabetes or obesity or all of these things. And because it is human creation, so can we solve the problem.
People are hungry in this country not because of famine, not because of war, not because of drought. They're hungry because we don't have the political will to feed everybody. We have the resources to feed everybody. We have enough food, enough calories.
Talk to any farmer in this world and they will tell you this is not a farming issue, this is not a land issue, this is a human-created problem.
We have a food system in this country that is focused more on big ag business as opposed to supporting nutritious foods.
We've abandoned the idea of directing healthy from scratch cooking to the impoverished people in America. And we need to teach people how to cook again. We need to teach them how to shop again. We need to put value into taking the time to cook and prepare food for your family.
Tonight we're doing it's a smoked monkfish, and we're serving it with a mixture of grains that we cook in mostly beet juice, vinegar, and a little bit of veal stock as well. And it has this real earthiness, not only from the grains, but from the beets. And then we're serving that with a horseradish creme fraiche and a confit of horseradish. We have a hunger crisis in this country. What's hard to understand is where the crisis is. It's a crisis of malnourishment. This is why you see obesity and malnutrition as different sides of the same coin, where in some households you have people who are malnourished and people that are obese at the same time. Calories are cheap, nutrition is expensive.
We've confused through the era of convenience what's really important in this world.
We are a really wealthy nation. We have a lot of resources. We have enough food to feed most of the world, but we have close to 42 million people in this country who can't afford to buy food or to buy adequate, healthy food.
Why is a fast food hamburger less expensive than a head of broccoli or a peach? It shouldn't be. We've done a great job over the last 50 years to make sure that the yields on commodity crops like corn and soy are through the roof. Very little of that research is given to fruits and vegetables. We can get the cost of that down, but that's not where we're putting our money.
This is an embarrassment of riches in this country to have this type of neglect of a general population that pits them into the corner and then now convinces them in this day and age just to be angry at the system. So we need to figure out how to make progress.
So I'm doing a take on a Frito pie. It's called Frito J. My Frito chip is a rice chip, so it's Carolina gold rice, cassava, overcooked, then mixed with some spices and aromatics, dehydrated and then cracked and fried. Then I took some goat, braised the goat whole, pulled it apart, and made West African peanut sauce. So I cooked in Ghana for a little bit, and I learned how to make this grandmother's sauce called West African peanut sauce. So it's Skippy's peanut butter, tomato paste, ginger, bird's eye chili, some of the goat stock reduced down. And then we're gonna mix out with some edamame beans, top it off with a little bit of turmeric, lime yogurt, watermelon radish, and micro cilantro. And I was just recently talking to a close friend of mine that I went to high school with, and he was like, hey, remember when you came to my house, we used to swim in my swimming pool, and my mom used to make Frito pies? You probably laugh at her now, since you're like this big time chef. And I was like, man, I just cook food. And then as I got invited to do this, that's what came back to my mind and was saying, how can I reinterpret this dish and make it better? So that's why we have Frito J. And we even made Questlove into a little edamame bean here.
This is the best thing ever. Thank you, man.
Enjoy.
I'm eating my own face.
I grew up in a really multicultural household. My grandmother is Puerto Rican, and she would cook food like large stock pots and make her own chicken stock and listen to loud salsa music. I would go into the kitchen and stand on the milk crate and actually help her peel carrots and onions. My favorite kitchen tool is a wooden spoon. It just makes me feel like I'm my grandmother. Like the wooden spoon just does something to the dish. Because every chef wants to cook like a grandmother. Like that soul, the way the grandmother's heart beats, the way she's able to build flavors. And I think grandmothers are just the best chefs in the world.
My earliest childhood memory of food goes back to spending time with my grandmother in the kitchen. The amount of love and care that she put into food is something that have stayed with me forever. We're doing a take on a kid's classic, or something I loved to eat when I was a kid. So we're doing a banana split, but in a little bit of a new touch, I would say. It looks a little bit different. It looks fun. I wanted to end on a fun note. There are little truffle sauce coated in dark chocolate. We created these little twills. So we took banana puree, dehydrated it, and cut it, and then dehydrated it some more, so we got a crunchy, very fragile little thing. So we have these little eggs of vanilla ice cream. We're gonna do some whipped cream, some meringue, and build it together. I don't eat sugar. I very rarely eat desserts either, so when I do create on a normal basis, or if I cook for myself, it does include a lot of dry fruits and nuts. Chocolate is very good for you. And a little bit of sugar is not bad if you stay with the natural products. So if you're staying with honey, raw sugar, agave syrups, you can still get that sweetness into you, but stay away from anything like refined white sugar. My first concert was The Roots when I was 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Where?
I'm from Sweden, so in Stockholm at
Oh my God, yes.
I was born in a small town called Slöinge, which is on the west coast of Sweden. Something that America could learn from other countries is to start focusing on their kids first. If you grow up getting a good balanced, nutritious food provided by school, you're more likely growing up will keep that diet.
I'm not altruistic, but I'm not raising just my two kids. I'm raising a whole community. And that's how we have to feel about this country, is that all kids matter, right? Every shape and size and color, they all matter.
It is possible to change the world, and we should be willing to pay the price for it.
A nation funds its priorities. And if making sure that the most vulnerable population, which is little children, that they get the critical nutrition. If that's not a priority, I'm not really sure what is.
Government will never lead the way. They will only bend at the will of the people. They're not, by definition, they're not risk takers. They will only do what's right after they've exhausted every other possibility, and so they need to hear from their constituents.
The people that we vote into office, they have to listen to our priorities as Americans. If our priority as Americans is to make sure that here in the wealthiest nation on earth, people get enough to eat, then they need to listen.